I mean, to me, the sheer sense of entitlement of the protesters is, what's irritating. And actually, it's not just the police. I think that senior politicians need to be very clear about what's going on. Most people seem to think that these people are somehow sort of in the right, but just sort of protesting in the wrong way. I mean, they're not. I mean, this whole apocalyptic vision and how we've just... I mean, as soon as someone's got a slogan with just in it, you know that they're not serious. So there's a policing element, but there's also a political element. People need to take these people on politically and take their arguments apart. I mean, it's difficult to me to... how could the main political parties be any more green? And seriously try and run the economy. So it's very difficult to see what they actually want.
Yeah, here's my solution, and I know a lot of people, I mean, the Daily Mail front page today, which I was seeing on GBNews earlier, was, what are the police for? And I get that, and people's fury about it. Why aren't these people being arrested, carted off, charged, incarcerated if they're repeat offenders? But here's my solution. I think that whilst the police should do that, we should also look at financial penalties on these people. So I like to take an economic sort of approach to this. If 30 people have gummed up the M25 and we roughly calculate that cost, I don't know, £30 million worth of damage to the economy, that will be £1 million from each of you, please. That will be the fine. So they should face the full financial consequences of the economic damage that they are causing. And I think that would actually be a rather greater deterrent than a sort of, 2-week suspended sentence or, 20 hours of community service or the rest of it. Because the damage is genuinely to the economy.
Yeah. Is there a massive damage here and for the Conservatives generally, that the Conservative Party is supposed to be the party of law and order, and we see all this anarchy going on around the streets, and the police stood looking at them and rather than doing anything about them. We've got they're supposed to be the party to control immigration. We've got all these dinghies coming over from France. Is there a real sort of identity crisis here for the Conservative Party, that actually the things that people vote Conservative for seem to be falling apart at the seams? I
think that's a very good point, Philip. I mean, of course, Suella Braverman, the Home Secretary, has sort of indicated to the police, come on, get a grip of this. But politics these days is really about virtue signalling, right? So it's not actually the job of the Conservatives to control immigration or arrest people. It's just the job of the Conservatives to talk about controlling immigration and arresting people. That's what's happening. So there's this kind of detachment between the promises made and the narrative and what actually happens on the ground.
I also wonder, has being a politician, being somebody who's a police officer, become more complicated? And like I said, with whips, you need to know who you're controlling. And I'm reading about some of these people now who are these eco-protesters. This one is the one who threw the eggs at the king. And I'm listening to some of the stuff that he says, I want the United Kingdom as a whole needs to be abolished, dissolved. I'm looking at somebody, they've stolen jewels from other countries. It doesn't faze me. I've seen fascism. I have to say, when somebody doesn't care about anything at all, and they've signed up to stop the oil, to do harm to themselves, to get in prison, other articles saying now that we're actually grooming vulnerable young students, what are we going to do with these people, David?
I mean, I think there's a genuinely semi-religious element to all of this. There's a sheer sort of fantastical element that... these people do fit into a great history of, apocalyptic types, which goes back, thousands of years, and that it's either God or Mother Earth is going to punish us for our sins. And, of course, the apocalypse never comes along. And I think anybody that believes that they are, if you like, religiously correct, there's no argument in the world that's going to deal with them. And I think that we've essentially allowed... if you like, the propaganda of this to permeate throughout, the education system and everything else, without any real sense of physical reality. So there's a lot of fantasy politics around all of this. We need to be sort of zero carbon, whatever that means, by 2030, 2050. And nobody... really understands what physically that means in terms of energy production and how we can possibly maintain all the lights, keep the TV on, your mobile phones. There's not a lot of reality in it.